Right then, everybody, we shall begin. People are closer today than they were last week. Yeah, it's a little bit. No, you're okay. You're okay. Oh, I like that. Thank you, Sandra. So, today, what we're going to go through, firstly, going to go through a little bit of a reflection on last week. Secondly, then we're going to go through removing chaos from your brain and from the process. And then we're going to go through sleep. And I weren't going to put fibre in this week, but I had a few questions, so I'll put a slide in at the end just about fibre. A lot of this today, though, I'd like this to be more of an open discussion rather than me explaining things. So I'd love to hear more than anything. I want this next 4 weeks that we're going to start now to layer the problems each week in to help problem solve the plan, the strategy. So at any point, feel free, hand up or shout out. It can be a bit more of a room discussion. Everyone hopefully now has gone through a week of the process, so that will start to bring up wins and challenges. And so we want to try and smooth out those challenges, remove chaos, but also try and make it more likely that we're more successful as we go forwards. So, first up, how was the week been? Would anyone want to throw up and say either it's gone really good or it's gone really shit? Either is fine, there's no right or wrong.
My week's been fine.
Yeah?
I'll start off. I managed to get in the gym twice this week. I haven't
Well done.
been since
Mhm.
back issues. But anyway, I went to do the walk last night, kind of, and I've just done a little 15 minutes call to sleep. So as
Well done.
far as gym go, I feel as though I've done a lot.
Yep.
Because I've done a couple of days work.
Mhm.
My things that doesn't always happen.
Yep.
So I think for me personally, quite a successful week.
No, absolutely. I think when one part of the process with gym is turning up, and I think people underestimate that part of it. So this last week, the first week of the year, I was so far out of routine. Started with sleep, and it took me 3 or 4 days to get sleep right. So I started on the Monday. Without sleep in place, it's so hard to get anything else in place. So it took me until Friday where I did my first training session last week, and it was in an afternoon. It wasn't early morning, so usually I wake up first thing, go to gym, and then I start working everything after. I did one session on the Friday in the afternoon, played cricket on the Saturday. So it was this week where I started exercising. And honestly, my goal this week was just turn up to all 5 sessions. When I get there, whatever I do is a bonus. But more than anything, this week, I just need to establish the rhythm. So I just trained up 70% in every session, but I got everything I wanted to do done. Next week, then I can start to layer intensity on top. And that's where we talk about the +1, the habit stacking. We're not trying to achieve everything in the first week. Let's just start establishing rhythms, start building processes, and then we can start to worry about how good what we do when we're there is. But let's start doing them first.
Yeah, that was useful on the day. I can't remember now. Ellie just said to the group that was saying, right, let's go for this week. And I just went, I need to turn up 3 times. That's it. That was my goal.
Yeah.
So I managed to do 4. So
oh, well done.
I'm happy with that.
Well done. Cool. Anyone else want to throw anything in before we move on? Fibre? Yeah. Yeah. Well done. Yeah, well done. So, obviously, we've got fibre at the end. I will say, for that reason, it's so unachievable initially. It's good to ramp it up. If you can go to it, great. It's not a bad thing. But just for your own sort of comfort, it's because of the bacteria and sort of microorganisms that are in your intestines. If they're not used to the fibre coming in, you don't have enough there to process what comes in. So it takes them a lot, and that taking them a lot is the really full feeling that you get. Over time, the organisms will grow, better strains in your gut will grow, and that then processes fibre much quickly. So you start feeling as full, the same amount of fibre. So it's good to ramp it up. We'll go through it more at the end, but well done. It'll take you 2 to 4 weeks to get the actual benefit from it, but not to say that you won't start feeling better before then. Yeah. Yeah. Let's save fibre to the end then. Funny enough, got that. Yeah. I advise that, innit?
Yeah.
I'll go through fibre at the end then. I think it's going to be a topic for everyone, that, isn't it? Nina, you did raise your hand a moment ago. Was it fibre by any chance?
No, it was sleep
Perfect.
and water. Both of them were.
Okay. Okay. No, it's all right. A confession, don't worry.
Especially with the water, I have a bottle next to me. I just forget to drink it, and then come to the end of the day, I'm like, oh, it's still full bottle.
Anyone else resonate with that? Okay. Yeah. What about you, Annabelle? Struggling with water?
And you drink more when do you? I drink more when I
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Has your water intake increased? That's a win then. I think one thing to frame here is the language you use. If you've improved on last week, but not hit where you'd set yourself, you have won. Like that's not a failure. If you've improved but not hit your target, you've made a huge step in the right direction. That's progress. That's not failure. So be careful with the language that you use. It's so many people I've seen over the years, literally thousands, who've given up when they're doing well because they haven't hit the target, even though they've done better than they were, and they tell themselves they're failing. But that is progress. So don't trick yourself up with that. As I say, we weren't aiming for perfection this week. One of the things that I said last week was, no matter how good your intentions are, this isn't going to be a perfect week. The next 7 days aren't going to be either. So it's about that messy move forwards that overall it gets better, but doesn't get perfect. All right, cool. So let's go in. So week 2 doesn't test your discipline. It exposes the chaos in the process. So we're going to go through some stuff to try and remove it today. The mantra I want for this week, and it kind of ties into what I've already been saying, I don't want you to work harder. I want you to make the process simpler. Okay? It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. So chaos is decisions plus variability plus friction. So how many decisions do you have to make? Of them decisions, how much variability is there in them decisions? And then how much friction is there for you to be able to actually make that decision or create that outcome? The more decisions, the more variability and the more friction, the more chaos there is in the process. So we want to try and remove decision-making, variability and friction in order to remove chaos. Fat loss speeds up when chaos slows down. We slow it down by creating repeatability and decision-making ahead of time. One of the things I'll say today, just reminded me because I've seen a couple of people taking notes, please either try and take notes or try and action the things in this. I've done it as much as I'm sure you guys have done it. You go to a talk, you listen to it an hour, think that's amazing, you walk away, do nothing with that information, and life carries on as it was. A challenge I want for anyone is at least just to do one thing from this talk today that's different in the next 7 days. So, mental chaos. I've got some questions for you all. I think I would either, if you write this down or if you just use your phone to make a note, just to answer these questions because they can be really illuminating. So, where did things feel easy last week? Where did things feel mentally loud? What did you overthink that didn't need thinking about? And where did you add in friction for yourself? Some interesting faces at these questions. Give everyone a couple of minutes. Again, there's no right or wrong. So just a few more questions on mental chaos. Has everyone either answered or happy with them ones? So 3 more. What time of day were your thoughts the worst? What situations triggered the most internal debate? And when did things feel harder than they need to? So what we're trying to look for with these questions is what patterns are triggering you and what patterns are being triggered in your brain. So for example, if you didn't manage to get water all day at work, in the evening will you tell yourself, well, there's no point in getting any more? So I would love one person to share where things felt easy last week. Anyone want to jump in and say, Lou? Get into the gym. Nice. Good. Was you just a wanker before that? Oh, right, yeah. No, good. Did you find it challenging after Christmas to get that 6 a.m. in? Good. Yeah. So one of the things we're going to speak about next week is more around the mental side of it. I think one of the things you've described there, Lou, is changing your mindset from this is a temporary intervention in my life to this is who I am. And you wake up at 5:10 now because it's who you are. It's not a temporary intervention in your life anymore. Yeah. Well done. One more then. Where did someone overthink something that didn't need thinking about? Neither you're laughing. I didn't hear you conferring with David about this.
Yeah, I'm overthinking, so I'm like all day, every day is my struggle.
Okay, all day, every day, every decision. Okay. Anyone relate to that all day, every day, every decision? Cool. So hopefully we'll try and remove some chaos then with the next bit we'll move on to. So more than anything, those questions are for you to reflect on for yourself. Try and find the areas. So for example, where did things feel mentally loud? There's a trigger in there for you somewhere. Was it last thing at night? Was it in the middle of work? Was it someone said something to you that pissed you off and then you got a psychological hunger for the next few hours? It's them sorts of things. Pay attention to. Where did you add friction? Simple one there is, can we remove that friction next week? Is it simple enough just to remove that? What time of day? This is an important one again. Is it first thing? Is it last thing? Is it when someone's triggered you about something? Is it whenever you speak to your boss? Because your boss just really fucking pissed you off. Situations that triggered you? Was it Was you trying to restrict yourself and you'd have to argue with yourself about that restriction? Again, was it someone brought cakes into work and you had to fight with yourself not to have one? And then where did things feel harder? Again, like there's answers in there in those questions for you that you can use over the next 7 days to improve. And again, just because you find the answer, it doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you should be, but it means that can we be 1% better in the next week? Can we keep adding that up over the next year? So food chaos. We're going to get more into logistics of the process now. So this is what food chaos looks: different breakfast every day, making it up as you go. Lunches, essentially making it up as you go. Lunches being deciding what to eat as you get to lunchtime. Protein hit late in the day, sort of last thing at night or last meal. Hunger appearing unexpectedly, and it's unexpected in quotes because if you actually sat down and looked at what does today look like, it's not a surprise if you'd have planned for how the day was going to unfold. Looking at your macros at the end of the day, or eating things unexpectedly. Again, in quotes, because if we plan things out, things become less of a surprise. So that's the sort of things that looks. Firstly, do people relate to that? Yeah, go. So how to overcome it? Firstly, having 2 to 3 options for each meal that hit calories, fiber, protein. I will eat the same meal every day until I die or until I get bored of it, and then I swap that meal and I eat that meal for the next 9 months. Like, I'm not bothered about that. But I've always done that, even if I'm not trying to cut. Like, so for me, that's fine. I'll eat the same breakfast every day, and that breakfast has 17 grams of fiber, 60 grams of protein. It's most of my intake done, meaning that it starts to allow flexibility in there for me. For the rest, if you don't want it, I know some people would rather eat something different pretty regularly. If that is the case, we need to know ahead of time what those options are for your breakfast. And those options that you choose are options that are super high in fiber, super high in protein, so that you remove so much of the load in the day in meal number 1. So can we get 2/3 of your fiber intake and 25 to 50% of your protein intake in that first meal? Then it's having 2 or 3 options so you can cycle through. So I have 300 grams of Greek yogurt, a scoop of protein powder, mix that in, and then I put chia seeds, flax seeds, raspberries, blueberries, goji berries, and then chop a banana on top.
Oh,
It is real food. It comes out of milk. Yep. So you don't, to be fair, you don't have to add protein powder. The Greek yogurt on its own's got 30, 35 grams of protein, depending on how much you use. I just put extra in. My intake is like 200 grams per day, so I try and get at least 50, 60 grams in that meal. But if you've got 2 or 3 options that you can have, that then you can cycle through, you can change. You could have 5 options, but we need options where something you enjoy and hit the fiber, hit the protein. The next thing is always plan your food for tomorrow. You're never deciding what to eat today. You always know what's happening tomorrow. And again, if you do decide what you're going to have today, it's out of an option that you already know you're going to pick. That's called an if-then strategy. So if I have to choose what I'm going to eat on the day, then it's one of these options. And we know that one of those options is already something that hits the fiber intake, hits the protein intake, moves you along towards the goal. And we wrap all that up in something that you actually enjoy eating as well. So we're not just smashing a tin of tuna to get the protein intake.
This is going to sound really obvious. I don't do breakfast.
Okay.
I'll have a coffee, but I have 2 decent meals a day. I do batch cooking.
Yep.
So that's not a problem, is it? If I have my first meal at lunchtime, which
Yeah,
I
yeah.
generally do, and then I'll have a meal at, say, 7 o'clock.
Yeah. No, it's
That's
fine.
not a bad thing.
I use the term breakfast loosely as in the first meal that you eat.
Just whatever
It's not the
every
first thing
time.
in the day. Yeah. I usually eat mine between 11 and 1, depending on what's going on that day, if I've trained hard in the morning and so on. Will say, though, that pay attention to yourself. So you don't have to give me an answer. Just pay attention to yourself. That can create a binge restrict cycle where, because you've eaten too few calories earlier in the day, you overconsume at night. So just be aware of that for yourself. It might be that you add in another meal or a small meal in the afternoon to prevent overeating in the evening. Yeah. So planning the food the day before and having that food in your MyFitnessPal or whatever, NutriCheck, TMRH, whatever app you use. Plan it the day before. The day before is already in your MyFitnessPal. That allows you then to make changes to make sure you hit your fiber and protein ahead of time. You're not getting to the last meal of the day and going, fuck, I need 25 grams of fiber. I'm going to have to raid an orchard to get my fiber in. So on a Sunday, or when you shop, me, it's usually Sunday, plan what you're going to have, what are them options that you're going to have over this next week. And then every day, the sort of night before, know what you're going to have tomorrow. More often than not, I pretty much know what my breakfast is going to be every day of the week. Probably my lunch I know already on the Sunday. Just evening meals I might rotate about, but I know my options of, well, if I have that evening meal, that's lower in fibre, so I'll add this into lunchtime. Because I've done it for that long, I'll know just quite easily that if I chop and change that one's low in fibre, so I'll put more in there. And then, but to get to that point where you can do it that easily, you need to be planning it. You need to know what's going on. You need to walk into, as the Morrison's, Tesco, other supermarkets are available, and know ahead of time what things you're buying to hit those goals. I think it's mental. Beth, Julie is Beth's mum. Beth is my missus. Beth walks into a supermarket without a plan, and it blows my head. She laughs at me because I have a shopping list which is in order of the walking around the shop. So I just take it in order. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's in order of where I'll walk. I know what route I'm going to take in the shop. Oh, I kick off then. I go and have a look. They send me an email a week before now. Yeah. Next one then is front load your protein and fibre, especially protein, because protein stops the binging late in the evening. So can you get to 75% of your protein intake by evening before you get to last meal? Can you have consumed at least 50, maybe upwards of 75% of that intake? So if you're having 3 meals, can the first 2 tick 70% of it? It helps control hunger earlier in the day, helps stabilize blood sugar throughout the day. That helps you control stress better, helps your energy levels, moods, drive, ambition throughout the day. Decision making around food is easier. So you're less likely to see those cupcakes in the office and go, I'll have that, because you've already eaten 150 gram protein and you're pretty satiated. You're all good. So the biggest thing I want to stress about food chaos is it's not decided on the day. Potentially Sunday, what the week looks, or at the very least Sunday, you're deciding what the options look in the day before you choose the option. Cool. So next one is movement chaos. Any questions on food chaos before I move on? No, cool. Right. Movement chaos. So I've said this once already. Consistency beats intensity. This week, I don't want anyone to work harder for it to make the process simpler. So with the movement chaos, I'm going to give you some minimum and maximum targets for steps and exercise, because people get carried away with this in both directions. We need to understand that more isn't better, and we need to make sure we're not doing random workouts to speed things up. Why are you looking at that, Annabelle? So there's a really delicate line I need to walk with this. This is why I put a minimum and a maximum. I don't want to discourage anyone from movement, but you've got to understand the intention behind it. When you do random workouts to speed things up, it feels control. So it satiates the dopamine signal in your brain that I've got this. That's where when you start a new routine and you're full of motivation, dopamine's really high because you're doing what you said you would. So you start, how can I you don't consciously know you're doing this, but your brain's going, how can I get more dopamine? Oh, well, I'll do an extra workout if I get some steps in the evening. We need to get happy with doing enough and just doing enough every day. The process is boring once you get 2-3 weeks in. That's why week 3 is going to be more around the mental frames, because the dopamine wears off. You've been doing it for 2 weeks now. Now it's life. It's not a new thing that you're doing. It's not a temporary intervention anymore. It's who you are. So you've got to be careful of, when it comes to movement, about the motivations behind why you're doing it. Is this a sensible, logical part of my plan, which is moving me towards my goals? Or have I got a random burst of motivation that I need to satisfy the craving for? That random burst of motivation you're satisfying the craving for will lead to burnout, will lead to you giving up the process. There's an amazing piece of research, which I've probably shared with most of you before. In the first 100 days of someone starting a health and fitness journey is the most critical. And there's a piece of research that looked at 4 million members around the world and found that this pattern is the same world over. If someone does more than 36 sessions in the first 100 days, so meaning that they've done more than 3 per week on average over that first 100 days, within the next 3 months, there's an 80% chance they'll give up because the behavioral cost is too high. So we see it where people come in and they buy loads of supplements, they get a MyZone, loads of new gym gear, smash the gym, week 6 they're out, they've stopped. And it's because they're trying to satisfy the craving for dopamine without going deep into, why am I doing this? What's my identity? What am I trying to achieve? How can I make this sustainable? That's where the magic happens. The flip side of that is also true, that if you've done less than 26 sessions, then there's a high chance you're going to cancel give up on yourself in the next 3 months as well. If you can get yourself between 24 and 36 sessions over first 100 days, then it's something 75% chance you're still doing it 2 years later. And that is that. Consistency beats intensity. Get consistent. Don't worry about random bursts of intensity. So I say I don't want to discourage anyone from movement. The key frame when it comes to movement is that if you've done 3 sessions per week for 6 weeks, and I would argue for 99% of the population, 3 is the goal, 2 to 3, if I'm being specific, 2 to 3 sessions. But then you've got a week off work, maybe work's a bit easier, you're not as stressed. You manage to get 5 sessions done for the next 2 weeks. 5 doesn't become the new normal. The goal is still 3. You've done 3 with 2 bonus ones. You've not done 5 sessions. And that's where people fuck themselves up, because they do 5 for a couple of weeks and now they've only done 4, they're failing. But they're not at all. And that is such a poisonous mind frame that will kill the process. So that's where with movement, I'm treading a fine line between encouraging you all to move, exercise and be happy, but understand the motivation about why you're doing it underneath it, making sure we're hitting minimums, and I'm going to give you some maximums. So firstly, minimums, steps. Your normal daily steps plus 3K is what I recommend. Most people you'll see online, you got to hit 10K. 10K is such an arbitrary number. It's an arbitrary number because, on average, 10K steps is 500 calories burnt. 500 calories burnt per day, per week, is 1 pound of fat loss a week. That's where that comes from, but it's arbitrary. In my opinion, the best way to do it is, what are your normal steps? For me, if I don't go out and get steps, I'm getting 2,000 to 3,000 in the day. Yeah, so all we're doing is adding 3K. The reason it's 3K is a 20 to 30 minute walk. In my opinion, no one is ever too busy to do that. If you get to the point where you decide you're too busy, then it's a choice that you're making about your time. Because if you look at your screen time on your phone, if you look at a program that you've watched, have you spent 20 to 30 minutes somewhere doing something that wasn't walking that could have been? And when I say these things, I'm guilty of it myself. I'm in the same boat as everyone in this room. I'll get to the end of my day and go, I've done 4,000 steps. I need to get another 3. And then I look at my screen time and it says 7 hours. And I'm, yeah, this is my fault. I wasn't too busy at all. Exercise, 1 session per week. If you do 1 session per week for the next year, you will make progress. The research shows that. Again, anyone can always fit 1 session in. Now, don't get me wrong, there is extreme examples of scenarios where you can't do it. A parent's in hospital, a child's not well. There is extreme examples. But on average, 1 session per week and add in an extra 3,000 steps on a day, anyone can manage at any time. So in my opinion, anything less than that is a choice, not a reason. That's why it says that, because in reality, if you've got 167 hours in your week, that's not even 3 or 4 hours of it, 1 session, and making sure you add 3,000 steps on a day. It is, hopefully. So the next one then is maximums. We see both sides of this with people. Explain, you get people who go crazy with it, with exercise as well. The maximums that I believe is more than enough for you to get there. 10K steps is more than enough. Now, these maximums aren't what you should aim for. This is me to say that in reality, you don't need to go beyond this. I'm not going to tell anyone, don't go beyond this. And there's some caveats. If you're already getting 10K steps because of your job, you're a postman, like, you don't have to reduce your steps. You don't have to hand your notice in and get a job where you're a bit more sedentary.
What do you need to have another 3 on that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're already getting more than 10,000 steps, you don't need to add another 3K on your day. That's more than enough. I would probably say if you're getting 7,000 steps on average just for your job, you're already getting enough. You don't need to add another 3K. Exercise then, 3 sessions. Again, I put caveat around it. 3 sessions is the goal because of what I said to you all about getting to 100 days. If you can always sustain 2 to 3 sessions, and that's why it's in quotes as well, it's 2 to 3, it's not just 3. But I'm going to put 3 sessions as the maximum. That is what you want to aim at each week. Now, these maximums aren't, if you do a week where you've done 5 sessions, that's not bad. But again, it's that mind frame of what's my goal next week. It's 3 sessions and you don't need more than 10K steps. So again, it comes to, are you already getting them steps and what are you doing and so on. Does that make sense? I want to really make sure I'm not discouraging people from exercising the amount they want to. Some people can easily fit 4 or 5 in every week. We've had members where they do 1 a day, Monday to Friday without fail. Suits them really well. I don't discourage that at all. I don't want to discourage anyone from doing more. Yeah, exactly. That's it. No, 100%. And you shouldn't, if you float anywhere between these minimums and maximums all year, because no week is going to be, you're not going to string together a year of over that. You're not going to string together a year of the minimum. We can float between 1 session and 3 sessions and you sort of daily steps plus 3K and 10K, you're going to be absolutely fine. 3 sessions a week, 156 sessions the next year. Is that maths right? Yeah. That's a lot of progress. 156 sessions in the next year. The problem is most people do 156 sessions in the first 3 months and then no more for the rest of the year. Yeah. Cool. Sleep chaos. What it looks. So this is a quick overview before we get to sleep in a sec. Inconsistent bedtimes. I'll catch up tomorrow. Scrolling your phone late. Early starts after late finishes. And then late meals and caffeine. Okay? I'm not going to ask you if that's anyone in the room because everyone's smirking at me. What it causes, increasing hunger hormones, lower tolerance to discomfort, so stress, hunger, etc., makes cravings louder, makes people dramatic. We're going to move on. So sleep chaos affects everything. Sleep isn't just rest. It is appetite control, energy and drive regulation, and mood. You can point to that: energy, drive, mood, very similar things. So give you one thing to overcome it, it's go to bed on time. It's hard to wake up late when you go to bed early. We had a chat just before this, and you said you've been attacking bedtime this last week, and you've been getting up earlier, feeling good in the morning. And that was where I said, funny enough, I've got this sentence in my thing today. It's hard to wake up late when you go to bed early. So I'm going to dig you out, Rach. Rach is my sister-in-law. She texted me in the week saying, I've been listening to you about sleep, and I've been doing it for the last couple of weeks, and I feel brand new. I was like, full enough, I'm doing talk about sleep on the weekend. Come along if you want. And you found it, hadn't you, that you said you used to wake up a zombie in the morning and just crawl through your morning. And you're waking up with energy and ready to just start. Yeah. Yeah, same. Opposite.
In a sense, we always go late and we always wake up early, but we still.
Feel tired?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Social
But
jet lag.
It's very hard to go early.
Okay. I'll get on to sleep. We'll be on it in a second. So I'm not gonna go through sleep too much more. Then it's gonna come to it in a second. The one overriding thing I would say for sleep is get to bed on time. That is the overriding thing, which we'll come to in a second. Schedule chaos. So unplanned weeks lead to unplanned eating. Chaos loves an unplanned diary. So looks meetings running late, training gets pushed back, eating times drift. Busy becomes an excuse. Are you busy or are you unorganized? Not pointing the finger at anyone, it's just a question for you to consider. I will say on that, more often than not, sometimes I'll sit down at the start of a week and I'm fucking hell, I've got so much to do. I write my to-do list out, I put it in my calendar what time I'm going to do which task, and all of a sudden, I'm like, fucking loads of time this week. And it's just because I was unorganized. I'm not that busy. So surprises create missed meals, late eating, poor sleep, and then stress stacks up. That cycle makes stress harder to tolerate, which then makes that cycle even worse. And it's a feedback loop that spirals you very quickly within a few days. So much of it can be undone with organization. So on a Sunday, when you do that shop, plan when are you going to train, what days you're going to train on, what food you're going to eat on what days, what's your bedtime for the next week. Find those things. If you do this in advance, it can become really powerful because you might go, fuck, I've got a meal next Saturday night, I'm out. You didn't realize, so you might be able to adjust calories and training in the week to make sure you still hit all the goals in the week. Whereas if you get to Friday and go, fuck, I'm out tomorrow, like it's more challenging to stick with the process. So just being a little bit more organized with what's going on. If you protect training, food, sleep, they are anchors in your week. The rest of it can become negotiable. As long as we're ticking training in the box, we're going towards fiber and protein, and we're getting sleep. And when I say food, and I only said fiber and protein then, I'm going to take calories out of that, because the purpose of this whole process is if we tick the right boxes, calories take care of themselves, because we're controlling the hunger drive, hunger signal, we're controlling energy, we're controlling drive, we're controlling mood. Therefore, we're eliminating the areas that make you want to eat more when you're in a calorie deficit. So if we get enough sleep, get enough fiber, get enough water, get enough protein, and controlling the nervous system, calories should take care of themselves. Another thing that it does as well is it really opens your eyes to what things then start to affect it. When you control those things, you'll notice patterns of, I've been really stressed today and I feel really hungry tonight. You start to notice patterns of that. So it's really worthwhile. Right, we'll get into sleep then. Any questions on removing chaos? Find that a bit useful? Cool. Adam? A challenge. It's always a challenge. It's a never-ending challenge. But again, this is where if you've set the bar here, you started there, and the next week you go to there, that's progress. You're not failing. Yeah, and that's it. It's keep failing forwards. Yeah, you can do that on Android. Yeah. So what phone have you got? Android. You can. There's a mode in it. It might be called bedtime mode, and it'll turn your phone grayscale, dim it, stop notifications. You can set it up in. If you Google it, it'll tell you how to do it. It's in settings somewhere. Yeah. Got nefarious intentions at that time, aren't they? You probably like that. Yeah, absolutely. Another one we'll get onto in a sec is one thing. I'll use my Alexa for that. So light is a big thing, which we'll go for in a second. I will, when I walk in, I'll say to Alexa, make my lights blue at 9. So all my lights will turn dark blue. Again, it brings the light signal down. And then I set an alarm for usually 9:45 for me to take magnesium. And it kicked in like as I'm going to bed. So I'd say those two things as I walk in my flat, and then it's automated that wind down starts happening for me. I probably can set that up automatically to do it every evening, but I never have. let's get into sleep. So sleep goes in 90-minute cycles. We generally need 5 cycles of sleep, 7.5 hours of sleep per night. When you always hear that everyone needs 8 hours of sleep, it is true. The reason it's 8 hours is because when you get in bed, you don't fall asleep immediately. The sleep is not 100% efficient. So once your eyes are closed and you're in sleep, you're not in sleep until you wake up. You will wake up loads of times in the night and not remember it because your brain hides it from you. The different cycles have different jobs. So your first 2 or 3 phases in the night, there's going to be a lot here that I'm probably going to go off on tangents with sleep because so much of this overlaps, and I've done my best to put it into slides, but questions, throw them at me with this. So sleep goes in 5 cycles. Your body decides what to do with those cycles in the first 2 or 3, and then the second 2 or 3, depending on how it uses them. The first 2 or 3 is body repair. So that's where you get more of your deep sleep, more growth hormone release, testosterone release, tissue repair, and it goes for immune function. The second 2 or 3 phases then, depending on what your body needs, you get more REM sleep, which is where you dream. This is where your brain processes memory consolidation, emotions, and learning and mood regulation. So if you're always short in your sleep, you're missing out on this bit. So if you don't get enough sleep, it's your brain that doesn't get repaired, which means that brain fog, memory consolidation, more emotional because your brain hasn't had time to process your emotions that evening, and you might struggle a little bit more with learning, mood regulation. Big topic of this has been that mood regulation affects just decision making around food. And so if you're short in your sleep all the time, it's harder to stick to a calorie deficit. Full enough, that's what these slides say. If we shorten sleep, we affect the second half, brain repair. This can cause Alzheimer's and dementia in the long term. In the short term, mood, impulse control, drive, patience all suffer. These are essential for dieting adherence. Consistency of sleep allows us to get deeper, more efficient, more effective sleep. So there's a difference between time in bed and time asleep. You'll have seen this, or you could use a sleep cycle app. Luke, anyone use that this week? Sleep cycle? Yeah? Found it useful?
I use it all the time. It's on the watch.
Cool. It tells you, so it's an app, tracks your sleep on the microphone on your phone, and it shows you what phases of sleep you're in and so on. It shows you your efficiency, it shows you your regularity, it shows you what phases of sleep you're getting into. So some things with this, there's lots of rhythms that interact with sleep, which I'll go through in a second. If you're not consistently getting those rhythms right, so for example, going to bed at the time your body wants sleep, your body essentially won't trust that it's going to get the sleep that it wants, and so it won't hit the deepest phases of sleep. If you always short your sleep, let's say your body wants sleep at 10 p.m. and you're always going to bed at 1 a.m., you'll never get into stage 3 sleep. You'll only ever get to stage 2. So your body won't do the deepest repair. It'll just never get there. It takes quite a while of consistency, a couple of weeks of consistency of bedtime, where your body trusts the fact that it's going to be able to get into the slow wave, deep stages of sleep, and then it'll allow it to happen. That's when you wake up immaculate because you've got into them deepest phases. The other thing with it, in those 5 cycles, if you get a shorter sleep but wake up at the right stage of sleep, you will feel far more refreshed and alert all day long than if you get more sleep and wake up at the wrong phase of it. So let's say you can only squeeze in 4 cycles at night, 6 hours of sleep. You would feel better for getting 6 hours waking up at the end of the 4th cycle than you would if you got 7 hours and woke up in the middle of the 5th cycle. And until you try that and experience it, you won't believe me. But try it and experience it, and then you will believe me.
You wake up in between that 90 minutes.
Yeah,
and
it's horrendous, isn't it? The sleep inertia.
But yeah, if I wake up after an hour,
Yeah.
I'm shocking for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
If I go for the full night,
Yeah. And the same is true if you shorten it and you yeah. So that's why sometimes, even though you've got to bed on time and I feel I've been in bed for long enough to have got enough sleep, you can still wake up feeling shit. It's not that your sleep weren't good, it's that you woke up at the wrong stage of it. What sleep cycle does is it tracks you through the night, knows what stage of sleep you're at, and then your alarm is any time in the 30 minutes prior to the time that you've set that you want to be awake. It'll find the best stage of sleep to wake you up in that 30 minutes prior and wake you up at that point. So it might say you've set your alarm for 7:30, it might wake you up at 7:06 because the app believes that's the best time for you to become alert. You're at the end of a cycle and it'll pull you out of it easy enough. So things that we need to be aware of. Thank God, there's a slide missing here. There'll be a slide that says, did I go past a slide here? Give me a second. Oh, where's it gone? So there's a slide that says the 3 different rhythms inside the body that we need to be aware of, and it's missing. It should have been next. There's 3 rhythms inside the body that we need to be aware of. So circadian rhythm is melatonin production, and it runs off daylight. So your eyes see light, and in the morning produce cortisol, which drives you awake. In an evening, as light comes down naturally, and hopefully in your home as well, your body will start to produce melatonin, and melatonin is what gives you that sedation feeling of, I'm tired tonight. Melatonin itself won't put you asleep, but it will start a lot of the processes inside the body that initiate sleep, and it'll give you that sedation feeling. It's so important the way you control light that gets to you. So what I mean by that is, in the morning, we need bright light as soon as we can. So have you all heard of a SAD lamp, seasonal affective disorder? I can't recommend them enough. I got one about 6 months ago. I couldn't imagine waking up without it now. Even when it's bright outside, I'll still have it on. Normal daylight on a cloudy, overcast day today, probably about 1,000 lux of light levels in your eyes. A SAD lamp is 10,000 lux. It might be 4,000 outside. 10,000 lux. You set it next to you, not right at you, just to the side of you, so that your eyes can pick up the light. If you wake up early and you go, oh God, part of that is that cortisol hasn't risen, and so it's not suppressing the melatonin and the adenosine, which would make you feel sleepy. When you turn that light on, you get instant cortisol production, and I'll turn that on before I have my coffee. I used to just sit down, have my coffee, and then my coffee would kick in, and I'd feel all right because that would hide the adenosine. Turn that lamp on, cortisol rises, and it's literally instant. You start to feel alert. That's the first thing. The other thing that does then is it starts your circadian rhythm immediately. You're not waiting until you get daylight and movement. So because you produce cortisol at the time you do early, first thing in the morning, it then gives you long enough for your body to get to the evening and start producing melatonin. If we don't get daylight immediately when we wake up, it can delay the evening's sleep onset. So that morning anchor can speed up and improve that evening's time to fall asleep. Yeah. The next one then is your circadian rhythm, ultradian rhythm. What's the middle one? Sleep pressure. So the middle one is sleep pressure. Sleep pressure builds up from chemical in your body called adenosine. As you go throughout your day, adenosine is produced as a byproduct of doing things. The more things you do in your day, more steps, more exercise, more mentally taxing things you've been doing, the more adenosine will produce in the brain. Adenosine gives you sleep pressure. That's the urge to fall asleep. Melatonin gives you the sedation. Sleep pressure from adenosine gives you the urge to fall asleep. It's in the nighttime, in that brain repair, where your body will process excess adenosine so you can wake up the day after ready to be alert again. And that's where you might short your sleep and so wake up tired because your brain's still full of adenosine. It's not managed to get rid of it all in the night. You're not giving it enough time to clear the fatigue from the day before. The way caffeine works is caffeine sits on the adenosine receptor in the nerves. And so you don't feel the tiredness from the adenosine. The tiredness is still there. You can't feel it because caffeine sits on the receptor instead of adenosine. So that's where if you have a coffee first thing in the morning and then get to an afternoon and you crash, it's because the caffeine started to wear off and all that tiredness that should have been cleared from the normal rhythms now hits you. So to control sleep pressure, the first thing is be aware in your day. We almost had them days where you don't really do that much. You lie on the couch and then you come to bedtime, you're not really tired. That's why you're not built up any adenosine. The first thing is, even on a day, try and do something, or even if it's 20, 30-minute walk, build some sleep pressure. I should imagine most of you in normal life are busy enough that that builds up naturally anyway. The second thing then is caffeine will stop sleep pressure from happening because of the reasons I've just said about the way it sits on the receptor. Now, caffeine has a 5 to 7 hour half-life inside your body, meaning that it takes 10 to 14 hours for caffeine to be metabolized and leave the system. So, who was I speaking to the other week? Someone I was speaking to was having a coffee. No, they had a Monster at about 1, 2 p.m. So Monster has 200 milligrams of caffeine in it. So to give you reference, and if you just make an instant coffee at home, that's 90 milligrams of caffeine. But it's 2 cups of coffee in a can of Monster. They had that at 1, 2 p.m. So the point I said to them was, at 7 p.m., you still got 100 milligrams of caffeine in your system. That's drinking a coffee at home at 7 p.m. and then trying to go to bed at 11 p.m. Caffeine has a massive impact on sleep. I think from what I've tested, I think I'm closer to the 7 hours as well. I think it takes me more 13, 14 hours. I go to bed at 11. If I have a coffee after 9 a.m., I will feel it when I get to sleep time. And because I think my body metabolizes caffeine a bit slower. So I can't overestimate how impactful caffeine can be on your sleep because of them reasons. It blunts the adenosine, don't sleep pressure. So the first thing is cut it off early enough that it doesn't affect your sleep. The second thing is the amount of caffeine you drink also makes an impact. So if you have the cut off at the time that you should, well, let's say you have a Monster, you have 200 milligrams. By the time you get to, let's say you had it at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., you've got 100 milligrams of caffeine in your system still. That's still stopping that sleep pressure from building. If you have 1 cup of coffee, 90 milligrams, by 3 p.m. in the afternoon, you've only got 45 milligrams in your system now. As you go through the evening, that's getting even less. So it's not just the cut off, it's also the amount. The general rule is 12 hours.
12 hours?
Yeah, so it's a half-life of 6. It's between 5 and 7, 6 hours. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
have all the caffeine. Not all the caffeine within the amount.
Yeah. So your last intake of caffeine is prior to 10 a.m. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was 10 now. 12 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it does have a big impact. You got to look for sneaky sources of caffeine is the next thing then.
Yeah.
Diet Coke, Coke Zero. Do you know as well, pretty much every fizzy soda has caffeine. Lemonade, Sprite, 7-Up. There's one which doesn't. I can't remember which one it is. It might be Fanta, but I could be wrong. There's one of them that doesn't, but pretty much all of them do. So, for example, if you go on a night out and you're not drinking tonight, I'll get Diet Coke. Fucking your sleep up. Yeah. So I'll either get water or actually now non-alcoholic beers are actually one of the best things to drink because they don't contain caffeine and you're having a night out. So the other thing is chocolate. Chocolate contains a large amount of caffeine. If you get a share bar, let's say in an evening you had a share bar of dairy milk, one of them that's that big, not for sharing that, is it? But one of them that's that big, and you had a can of Diet Coke, you've dropped 140 milligrams of caffeine in maybe 2 hours pre-bed.
Tea's less, isn't it?
Tea's less. Tea's like 40 to 50 milligrams of caffeine. Green tea's 20 milligrams.
But even then, if you're on it, like, on the
Yeah. Get a decaf versions. Yeah. Caffeine's a sneaky one. And even when you become aware of it, you might not realize some of the sources of it you get. There's another one that came in my head then. Can't remember. It'll pop back up. So control your caffeine. The first 1 to 3 days that you either reduce your caffeine or cut it off early enough, you are going to feel crap. Push through. Try and push through. What I would say is the first day you do it, let's say you normally have 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day. You have your first one, you've cut it off 12 hours pre-bed. You get to 2 p.m., you're really struggling. Have either a tea or a Diet Coke because Diet Coke's 50 milligrams of caffeine rather than getting a full coffee, which is 100 or Costa's 130 or a Monster's 200. Try and, if you're really suffering in that first day, have a small caffeine intake in the afternoon. Yes. Yeah, that's true. You can get caffeine-free Diet Coke or Coke. Yeah. So if you get caffeine-free versions of stuff. No, they have 0. Yeah. So that's caffeine. The next one then is your ultradian rhythm, and it links to what we were just saying there. Your ultradian rhythm is the waves of energy that you have through the day. You're not just on, go, and you can sustain it. Your ultradian rhythm goes in a 70 to 120 minute cycle. So the general is 90 minutes, but it's not specifically 90 minutes. Your ultradian rhythm becomes your sleep cycle at night, what I talked about before. So that sleep cycle you go through the stages of sleep, that happens whilst you're awake as well. And you go through peaks and troughs of I've got energy, I've got motivation, I've got attention, I haven't, I need a little rest, and so on. Where your ultradian rhythm kicks in is in the sort of 3 to 4 hours before bed. If you don't listen to those lulls of energy, you'll extend your ultradian rhythm and push it on. Anyone ever, do you know the difference between couch tired and bed tired? I feel part of that. So if you feel tired on the couch and then you get in bed and you're alert, part of that is ultradian rhythm. Good example is, like say you go on a night out, you avoid caffeine, but you come home and you're mentally stimulated and you can't drop off. It's because you push your ultradian rhythm on back into alertness as you get into bed. The things we can do for ultradian rhythm, firstly, is in your day, pay attention to when them lulls happen and give yourself a rest. It only needs 5 minutes. So if you're working, you just can't do this thing. If you've got the opportunity to, just stop, add 5 minutes, get some fresh air, breath work, we said last week, cup of decaf coffee in the afternoon. All of those things allow your body to rest and follow that rhythm. When it comes to the evening then, light has a big impact on it. So it's essentially then it's stimulation. So what things are you doing? This is why phones kill sleep when you're scrolling in bed. So try and not scroll late. Low stimulating activities and low light sources. Again, that's for the stimulation as much as the circadian rhythm as well. That makes sense. That thing that I just said that I forgot and it'll come back to me, came back to me and it's gone again. Yeah, it was something to do with that, with the ultradian rhythm. Gone. So those 3 cycles, circadian, ultradian, and sleep pressure, we need them all to sync up. And when they don't sync up, it causes something called phase dispersion. I don't think that's actually a technical term. I think that's more, maybe I've created that. But essentially, it's where the things don't line up. So let's say you've had a really busy day, so you've got sleep pressure, but you woke up later than usual and didn't get daylight, so your circadian rhythm's past the point of sleep pressure. So circadian rhythm won't take you to bed until, say, 1 a.m., but your sleep pressure's there and you want to sleep. Or let's say you've had a really mentally alert evening, your ultradian rhythm's gone past the point that you can sleep, but your circadian rhythm and sleep pressure want you to sleep. You're just too alert, you're in bed, you feel tired, but you're just thinking about everything. That's your ultradian rhythm. Yeah. So phase dispersion is where these things don't sync up. We need all of them to sync up to create the best sleep. You ever notice that you don't eat a crap at night? You ever notice that you don't eat a crap at night? You might not have noticed. Okay.
Sorry.
Your gut has its own circadian rhythm. So it knows when it comes to nighttime, it knows based on daylight, it's time to stop forcing the toilet. That's an example of phase dispersion where you might need the toilet as you're trying to go sleep. It's because and there's also hormone rhythms inside the body that are linked to sleep pressure, that are linked to circadian and so on. If these are all out of sync, hormones are at the wrong levels at the point where we need sleep. But for example, cortisol is the hormone that wakes you up. It's also the hormone that triggers on stress. And so if you've been dead alert, in an energy deficit, pushing yourself hard in work, cortisol might be high by the evening. And cortisol and melatonin have a relationship where cortisol suppresses melatonin and melatonin can suppress cortisol. But if you've given your body the inputs that drive cortisol up, make you alert and awake at night. And that'll also affect the ultradian rhythm. And you see what I'm saying? So that's phase dispersion. Social jet lag is, I think, what you described before. Social jet lag is you can be jet lagged without leaving the country. And that's because of your circadian rhythm. If your body has tracked daylight today and it knows what time the sun's gone down, it knows roughly what time of day it is because of those things, your body might want to initiate sleep at, let's say, 10 to 11 p.m. If you don't go to sleep until 1 a.m., even if you get enough sleep, you're out of sync with your cycle and it causes jet lag. That's what jet lag is, where you're out of sync with your circadian rhythm. So even if you get enough sleep in the night, you've been time in bed is enough, your efficiency's been good enough, you've got enough sleep, you're out of sync with where your melatonin and cortisol rhythms are, your body, other rhythms go out of sync, and it causes social jet lag. Sleep fragmentation and micro awakenings. So as I say, you get those cycles of sleep, you go through 5 phases, you'll wake up in between those phases and not realize the length of time you wake up for can be impacted by the things you've done in the hours pre-bed. A late evening meal will cause you to be alert more through the night. Caffeine will cause you to be alert more through the night. Something really mentally stimulating late at night will cause you to be awake through the night. So the micro awakenings can then start to impact the sleep efficiency, bring that down. I'll talk more about that in a second. So controlling stimulus late, eating more than 4 hours before you go to bed, and controlling caffeine in daylight. So the reason for the eating is the last one, core temperature. If your core temperature is too high, your body will firstly struggle to initiate sleep. And secondly, the micro awakenings between the cycles will be much longer, much bigger. And that's where you might have been in bed for 8 hours. Usually you'd get a lot of sleep in that time, enough that you feel recharged in the morning. But then you've maybe had a little bit too much caffeine a little bit later than usual. And you've had a late meal. The micro awakenings between those cycles are higher. Your efficiency drops. You spent the same amount of time in bed, but you've actually had less sleep. For you think you've had the same because your brain doesn't allow you to remember those awakenings in the night. You might remember some of them, but you won't remember all of them. So you think, well, I've had the same sleep as usual. Why do I feel this? And it's because you have actually been awake in the night. You don't know that, and you've been awake more than usual because of core temperature or mental stimulation and so on. Yeah. Your body your internal temperature, if I'm right age, your internal temperature needs to drop by 2 degrees in order for sleep to happen. Your body will do it for you, but it needs the conditions to do it. For example, if your room's too hot, you can't drop the temperature as quickly. Can be, yeah. Spoke about this last week, didn't we, with electric blankets and stuff. I don't have experience with that because I don't use an electric blanket. I think it's probably a preference thing, but I would test and see. I know whenever I feel a little bit more of a chill rather than a little bit of a warm, my sleep cycle tells me I get a better sleep. They say you want your room to be between 16 and 19 degrees to fall asleep. Yeah. It's obvious. The other thing is you can be too cold, and that will create a micro awakening. And that will be different person to person because body fat levels, circulation, those are things that control core temperature. If you're really petite and have poor circulation, you might need more blankets to make sure you're warm. As I say, you can get too cold in the night as well. But core temperature also isn't just the minute you go to sleep and the time you're in bed. It's an hour or two prior to bed. So funny enough, I've always said, and I said this last week, that if you have a hot shower before bed, have a cold shower at the end. And I actually found, as I was doing some more research for this week, that's not right. It's counterintuitive, but a hot shower actually drops your core temperature quicker. Yeah, that was news to me this week. So you don't need the cold shower at the end. Your body will drop its core temperature. I think it's because it gets the response of heat. So you vasodilate, cools you down quicker, but that cool down quicker goes past the point of the temperature you were getting into the shower, takes you into the stage of sleep. And especially if we've lined up all of the cycles, your body's trying to drop your core temperature anyway. It's also now got blood vessels wider, blood in the right place to cool you down, cools you down faster. So yeah, it does actually help. Right. Oh,
You mentioned about food. Food needs to be up to 4 hours before.
yeah. When you digest food, it raises your core body temperature. Anything. Yeah, anything.
4 hours.
The closer you are to bed that you're eating, ideally, the lighter the meal you want to have. But if you're within 4 hours, you can have whatever. If you eat foods higher in fibre, higher in protein, requires more digestion, raises core temperature, creates micro awakenings, reduces efficiency of sleep. We mentioned him last week, Brian Johnson, the guy who's trying to live forever. He eats at 11 a.m. and then goes to bed at 8 p.m. So he has his last meal at 11 a.m. for that reason. So he tested every hour in the day. So from having one meal when he wakes up to split it up, and he actually found that he gets the highest quality of sleep if he has it 9 hours before bed, his last meal. Well, he says it's good. Now, bear in mind, there's a lot of factors in life. If you're having a social meal, Brian Johnson wouldn't go. But I'm not saying you shouldn't. You should say I'm not going to that tonight because I need to get to bed. There's trade-offs to everything in life, isn't there? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. When I coach until 9, I go home and eat. It does affect my sleep, and I can see it in my sleep score. Yeah. What time you go to bed? So you are 3 or 4 hours there prior to bed at 6, 7. Yeah. That's any of these things. That's the science. You eat earlier, you will get a better sleep. Yeah. That's it. Find the ones in here that work for you. That is one of the most impactful, though. The pre-evening meal, the pre-bed meal, timing of it. Yeah.
I was thinking about menopause, but also when you're in the cycle, because we're talking about hormones.
Yeah. So with that, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Some of that is if we do all the things that we've said around protein, fiber, water, sleep, nervous system, we control hormones better. Some of that might help. For example, if you've had a really shit sleep, you've had no protein or fiber that day, and you're not hydrated, you've been stressed for a few days, and then you come on, you're going to be far more hungry than if you controlled those variables. So there is a few things, but then that's where the reality of life filters over the science of what you should do. If you get a late meal, you're going to sleep, you're going to wake up the day after. It's maybe 10 to 15% less effective than it would have been, but the world carries on and you carry on and you're all good. Yeah, exactly. It's best fit. It's in 3 weeks of the month. If you can do it, then that's going to be great. If there's a week of the month you don't, you're all good. It's about 80% of ticking the boxes rather than 100%. And then picking and choosing the bits that work best for you. I think more than anything, that's what I give you the options of these are the things that work. And the pre-evening meal is one of the most powerful things for efficiency of sleep.
Really?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest impactors. Caffeine, consistent bedtime, caffeine, and then meal in that order. So we'll skim through these bits now. We talked about a lot of this. When we do everything right in sleep, we improve the speed to fall asleep. You'll fall asleep in under 10 minutes. The amount of total deep sleep that you'll get in that total sleep through the night, the length of the REM sleep, so the mental processing, the emotion regulation, and so on, and the efficiency of sleep. You can sleep less and get more benefit. The less time in bed for more benefit. The way that works, where are my slides? The next slide is supposed to be the efficiency one. Isn't the wrong order or what? Right, here we go. Time in bed versus efficiency. If you've got 70% efficiency of sleep, you need 11 hours in bed to get 7.5 hours. If you've got a 90% efficiency, you need 8 hours in bed. So that is time in bed versus time asleep. If it's only 70% efficient, you'll need 11 hours in bed to get 7.5 hours of sleep. And if you're 90% efficient, within 8 hours, you can get 7.5 hours of sleep. So the efficiency is all those things we've spoken about. Efficiency will reduce by not having a consistent bedtime, not getting daylight in your eyes as soon as you wake up, too much caffeine, late evening meal, late mental stimulation, things that affect those things will reduce efficiency and mean you need longer in bed. Yeah? Possibly, but if you use a sleep cycle app, you can find that out. So dieting and sleep, calories deficit increases cortisol. Cortisol is the hormone that makes you alert, so it can make it harder for sleep. Hunger delays sleep onset. Poor sleep increases the next day's hunger, but optimizing the sleep is protective for this stuff. So the issue is that most people, if they don't control any of the things, they're not getting daylight, they're not thinking about when the caffeine's happening. They're eating chocolate an hour before bed, so they're getting caffeine and eating. Yeah. Yeah, so that's having a big impact on you. You possibly might not be getting to the deepest phases of sleep and haven't for a while. Yeah, possibly the case. Yeah, it takes some discipline. There's a like a trade-off with discipline. It's funny because the sacrifices you have to make at first become the things that you're not willing to bend later on. So let's say, for example, it feels a sacrifice now, not having chocolate late on and not getting to bed on time. You do it for 2 weeks. That then becomes the thing that you don't want to sacrifice because of how good you feel. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's getting there. So how do we optimize and improve for sleep? To be honest, a lot of this we've already discussed, but I'm going to put this in there. The saying of I just can't sleep. Now, you've seen there's a lot of things you can optimize to maximize sleep. Sleep isn't something that we force to happen. It's something that we create the conditions to allow. That mind frame is a big shift. That saying of I just can't sleep creates a belief that you can't sleep. So that, for example, when it comes to an evening, you're already predicting I'm not going to sleep, scroll longer, eat later. The belief that you can't sleep creates conditions that don't allow for sleep. Unless you've been medically diagnosed with some kind of condition that means you can't sleep. Maybe you're taking a medication that causes insomnia or something like that, then 100% there are people who can't sleep for them reasons. However, if you haven't been medically diagnosed that you can't sleep, and you're also not controlling any of the variables that initiate and allow sleep, then let's try controlling those variables first and challenge that belief that we've got that you can't sleep. So that mind frame, I think, is really useful. Sleep isn't something that we force. It's something we can create the conditions to allow. So again, I think we've gone through all these points already now. Time in bed versus efficiency, we've gone through that. Light timing, controlling your circadian rhythm. Morning, sad lamp, or your lights on immediately. One of the routines I've set up on my Alexa when I'm in bed is I say, Alexa, I'm awake. All my lights in my bedroom turn on, and then it starts playing music. So I've created, this is the geekiest thing that I've ever done. I created a playlist which matches the rhythm of it, matches the frequency of the brain during wake up. So the songs that play in order that speed my brain up at the same rate my brain wants to be sped up. That is the geekiest thing I've ever done. Yeah.
The light, it don't have to be a sad lamp.
Doesn't have to be, no. Sad lamp far better. But if you just turn your lights on, that's enough. Yeah. Yes, so I can't do it when my missus is there. Yeah. So I can't. I love you, David. Don't worry. No worries. I am going way longer here. I'm cool to just keep going, but if you do need to leave, feel free. Oh, cool. So one thing that I didn't understand until I understood more about sleep is about sleeping in separate rooms. Now that's a contentious issue inside most relationships, but it's probably for your own benefit the best thing to do. Pardon? Yeah. So yeah. I don't want it to leave my head again. It just comes to my head, that thing that I was forgetting. Scrolling in bed. Not only does it make you mentally alert, it conditions your brain that your bed is space to be awake. Your bed should all be a place that all you're doing is sleep. Reading's not too bad, in my opinion, because it's low stim, and reading can help bring sleep on.
But reading on a book, not on the...
Yes, yeah, reading on a book, not a phone. I used to use I had Kindle app on my phone, and I used to do that, but then the bright screen was getting me again. Another thing that attracts. They're not too bad, are they? Because yeah.
Yeah, but I put mine more or less orange.
Yeah.
Even if you know,
Say that again.
but if you're reading things, I don't know, psychological thriller or stuff like that, these are things.
Do you know? So, oh God, we're getting into the nerdy stuff here.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. So, well, I feel I'm saying things I don't want to share here. I stopped reading books. The types of books I read, I'll read biographies, I'll read fiction, and then I'll read business help books. I stopped reading business help books at night because they make me more alert. They give me ideas of things I should do. Yeah, so I'll read fiction and biographies that help me unwind, but things that give me ideas and I want to action them immediately. Stop reading them before I go to bed. So it depends on what psychological thriller gets to you. Like, does it help you feel calm? Does it make you feel more alert? Yeah. Yep. No, I turn that on. Yeah. So I've got a sad lamp. It's like 30 quid on Amazon. I've got a little coffee table next to where I sit in the morning and have my brew. And it's just sat there, just offset. And then when I wake up in the morning, I make my brew, sit down, put the lamp on and sit in front of it. No, it's definitely would help. Cool. Honestly, sad lamp. So good.
Oh no. You sleep with me. But get to about half 4 hungry now. Sorry, you didn't eat.
So morning, sad lamp. Evening, dimming your lights after 8 p.m. Especially if you're trying to get to bed for 10, 11. Say an hour, maybe 2 is good, but I'll just do it as soon as I can dim the lights. Like as soon as I don't need light anymore, maybe for making my evening meal, cut them off, bring them down. Another thing is a mode on my telly as well. Most telly probably do this in night mode, so it's not as bright. That's another thing. Find sources of light and eliminate them. I was debating getting a lamp for my bathroom so it was bright when I went in, but I might be going too far here. Another one is I set up on my Alexa, as I say, Alexa, it's bedtime. If I need lights in my bedroom, it'll turn them on at the lowest dim I can use to be able to still actually see. Ah, yeah. Is that when you're skirting? Yeah. I like that. Guess what's going in my bathroom next week? Bedtime discipline. This is the anchor to it all. Every night, including weekends, get to bed on time. What was it for?
Well, we're getting the time that we can stay longer.
So again, this is your lives, do what you want, but this is what the research would say. Fully enough, when you guys went Madeira, I took that as my opportunity to have 2 weeks unbroken without getting my bedtime missed. And it carried on for weeks after. Pretty much, I might have done it for 2 months without missing my bed. My regularity on my sleep cycle app was 95, 99%, because I got to bed at 11 p.m. within 3 minutes every night. I was really proud of it. But the impact was ridiculous. Felt so good. And I did it on weekends. So there was occasions where I go play pool with a mate, might be 8 p.m. I might be out until 10 p.m. Ultradian rhythm, be more alert. We shifted it earlier. I asked him, do you mind if we go at 5? We did. I'd made sure my nutrition was organized so that I could not break that time so I could get to sleep. All those things felt so good. I think there was 2 occasions where I had an event on where I went out. It was a comedy night. And I feel like there was something else. And I drank non-alcoholic beer, got home, maybe got in bed at 1 a.m. Because my rhythm was so tight, fell asleep instantly. Woke up at the time I should, was super efficient, didn't affect it. A lot of things with sleep is the consistency of it. So if you consistently get good sleep, one night doesn't knock that rhythm. So you'll still get the deep wave of sleep. But the opposite's also true. If you never get that consistency, you'll never get to the deep phase of sleep, and you'll never be efficient to get the sleep that you need. Less important, but yes, this is where it starts to get, I don't know if it's in these slides or not. This is where it can start to get a little bit more. You need a deeper understanding of sleep about whether or not you should use the morning anchor or not. There's something called sleep debt, which is when, say, for example, you keep getting 6 cycles of sleep, that adds up and you need to catch that sleep back up. Your brain needs that. You shorten the repair. This is where you need the broader picture of if you're planning your week, what's going on. You might be, well, I've got to bed late this night because of X. I'm going to keep the anchor because on this day I can get another cycle of sleep, and you might get 6 cycles instead of 5. That makes sense. So ideally, yes, keep the anchor of sleep, but then you also have sleep debt. So ideally, yes, wake up at the time that you should, but you'll create sleep debt. So you need to find a time you can catch that sleep debt up. Is it the day after? In which case, maybe extend the cycle. But then again, this is where you need to have a better understanding of sleep, in that if you've had that rhythm in place for weeks, one night won't disrupt it. If you're in day 3, you should probably force yourself awake and spend a little bit longer until you catch it up, because getting an extra cycle of sleep will knock that rhythm immediately. Yeah. So there's trade-offs. I don't know. Again, some of these slides are missing, but there was a slide in here about ChatGPT. One of the things that I do is I screenshot my sleep cycle app every day, put it in ChatGPT, and give me feedback on this. And that's helped me to understand some of these things about when I should catch it up, when I shouldn't, why my sleep doesn't look that good and I don't feel that great, but even though I thought I'd done everything right. Do a check-in with yourself on ChatGPT in the morning, screenshot the sleep cycle app, drop it into ChatGPT and say, first of all, do people know how to use AI? You need to set the context of it. So drop a message in and say, I'm trying to optimize my sleep. It's one of my biggest things for this year. What I want to do with it is I want to get consistent bedtimes. I want to have efficient sleep. I want to feel good in the morning. So what I want to do is I'm going to start tracking my sleep. When I give you the screenshots, can you analyze it and give me feedback each morning to tell me what you think of it and what I can do to improve it the day after? Ask me questions if you need to. Here's the first one. And then go through that process with it. Yeah. 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 Yes. That's a short prompt from one of mine, as you can imagine. Do you want to put it in Team Platform or something? But that's the first prompt. So when you start a new chat on ChatGPT, you need to create the context. So that's just the first prompt. After that, then I'll just drop the screenshot. All you need to do is say, this was last night. What do you think? Yeah. Yeah. I can do that. I'll put it into your platform later if you want. My Fitness Pal. Yeah, I'll do that as well. What I do so one thing I do every morning on ChatGPT is, again, I've built the context, and this is how it helped me through Asia when I went traveling. I created the context to say, this year my goals are this, this, and this. I want you to check in with me every morning on these things, and it checks in on morning weight, resting heart rate when I wake up, stress, mood, energy, hunger. That's really useful to track every day, just a score out of 10. And then it'll feed back to me and say, you got a better sleep last night and your hunger levels have dropped, that sort of thing. Or I'll say, I've had a really stressful day. Interesting you say that because your sleep score is reduced today.
How does it know about hunger?
What do you mean by that?
What information do you use that it is to understand about hunger?
It gives me a check-in form where I have to answer a load of questions. One of the questions it asked me is hunger today on the scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, and then you need
So I'll say hunger today is a 3. Hunger today is a 7. Yeah, I mean, it might be, well, your fibre intake was lower yesterday and now you're hungry today. Today you get your fibre intake. Things like that. So I do a daily sort of life health check-in, and then I do a separate one on my sleep separately. So in bed, we only sleep on low stimulating activities.
In the morning.
In the morning, get out of bed immediately. When an alarm goes off, we start the day first time, straight out of bed. Again, if you've done 6 days of getting out of bed, if you're on Sunday, you lie in bed, it's not going to disrupt your rhythm. It's the majority of things we do that'll do it, not all of the things that we do.
If I'm not working, I'm in it.
Yeah. Do you know that bleeds into drive motivation for the day, which can affect decision making and
going out for a walk. I know it
yeah,
does,
yeah,
because I've seen it sort of
yeah,
time where I'll scroll in the morning and I'll be awake at 6:30.
yeah,
I'll get to 10 o'clock and I'm not moving.
yeah.
You know?
I've had this chat with my dad since he's retired. He's come gym all the time and stopped coming, and that's why.
It's just too easy to just go do. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna run around with you. I can do that later.
I think,
Go.
yeah. I think a useful frame, again, do with this information what you will, but I think a useful frame is that every day your sole purpose is to live a good and happy day. And in order to do that, you need to give yourself the inputs. So, for example, would you feel happier internally if you woke up, grabbed a coffee in a travel mug and went and got 20 minutes of steps and got daylight?
Yes, and that's a damn good idea. I haven't even thought about that.
So yeah, if you started your day with that,
Yeah.
that also is a big anchor for circadian rhythm. It's not just light for circadian rhythm, it's also movement. So movement will rise cortisol and alert you in the morning. So you grab a coffee, get out, get steps, 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah. I've got
Yeah.
loads of time. It does, it affects you.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah. That's it. I think if you start your day, for example, you got out on first alarm, and you got to bed early the night before, that sets the intention for the day after. Yeah, so you've set the intention for the day after. You've got out of bed as soon as the alarm's gone off. You've grabbed a brew. You've got outside. You've got daylight and movement. It's hard then to have an unproductive day when you've started it like
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree 100%. And I thought that would be the case, but that idea with the coffee and going out for a walk is a damn good one.
I'm full of them. Full of them. Yeah, I can. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Maybe grab a water for that reason. 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah. Pay attention to when you are unable to get to bed on time. Again, find the patterns. What's stopping you? Is it a friend that's always got you out? Is it you that's not allowing yourself to go to bed? If you've never heard of the term revenge bedtime procrastination, it's worth Googling. It's where you've been unhappy about something in your day. You feel that time's been robbed for you. So you steal it back to yourself by delaying sleep because you don't want the day after to begin.
That's when you've eaten something you've not enjoyed, wasting calories.
Yeah. Track your sleep. I use Sleep Cycle, as I've mentioned a few times. Make sure you're tracking your sleep and using the data to infer what's next. Utilize AI, as I've already mentioned. Supplement. Now, supplements don't replace habits. Pointless taking the supplements if you haven't got bedtime discipline and you're smashing caffeine. But magnesium glycinate, 1 hour before bed, can have a big impact on sleep. 200 to 400 milligrams. 200 if you're a smaller person, 400 if you're a bigger person. Simple as that, really. Potassium. Again, this will not replace good habits, but it will support them. If you're, again, nailing water, nailing light, nailing bedtime discipline, controlling your caffeine, low stimulating evening, and then you take magnesium an hour before bed. So magnesium gives some of the building blocks required for the metabolic processes of sleep to occur, and also calms your nervous system. So you have a bit more of a calm feeling as you get into bed, activates that parasympathetic nervous system, if you remember from last week, and helps initiate sleep. Magnesium underpins a lot of metabolic processes in the body as well, so it's useful to supplement for that as well. But build your sleep rhythm. These are the things you need to think about. To be honest, a lot of this we've discussed. It's been quite a good open discussion. When is your sleep wake time? How will you track your sleep? What time will lights go dim in an evening? Will you put light into your morning, like have lamp or turn your lights on? Or yeah. Everyone happy there? Got any questions on sleep?
Oh, yeah.
No.
That is perfect.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that.
All good? Yeah.
My biggest problem is actually discipline of getting to bed
Mm-hmm.
on time.
Yeah.
Because I need a set amount. My getting up time is a bit off because sometimes I can get 3 days a week I can get up at 8:15.
Yeah.
There's usually 2 days a week I need to get up at 10 minutes to 7.
Mm-hmm.
If my managers get their way, there'll be one day I need to get up at 10 minutes to 6.
Okay.
But I still only will get home or finish work.
Yeah.
Maybe between 5 and half 6. So if I was to get up at the earliest time, I need to go to bed about 11.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't feel I've got enough time for finishing work
Mm-hmm.
to do the stuff I need to do. Go to the gym, have some food,
Yeah.
deal with the dogs, and then also need time to calm down.
Yeah.
I need a good hour at least of calming down.
Yeah, I get it. So this is where you've got to filter, firstly, reality over the science. One thing with exercise, walking the dogs will calm you down. So that's an additive to the help of sleep. In terms, when you start to, for example, dim lights, do things that you know are helping you to initiate sleep, allowing the conditions for sleep, it becomes easier to get yourself to bed at that time. It's taking a pre-workout and then not going to the gym. Having all the caffeine, it's unlikely that you're not going to go to the gym after you've took a pre-workout. In the same way that if you start dimming your lights, you maybe put your phone away, you read a book, you take magnesium, it's unlikely then that you're going to go, oh, I can't be asked to get into bed at 11, I'm just going to carry on scrolling or whatever it may be. Part of what I said before, someone over there, about at first, the discipline is the getting to bed on time. And then when you start getting to bed on time and you feel incredible, the sacrifice is not going to bed on time. So it reverses once you start to feel the benefit. And that will probably take 1 to 2 weeks of forcing yourself to do it. I would have the same wake time, regardless of what time I need to start work. So, for example, I might decide that I'm going to find the one in the middle. I'm not going to get up at 5:30 every day. On that day, I'll short my sleep a little bit, catch it up with it on the weekend, for example, get one extra cycle. On the 4 days of the week, I'll wake up at 6:30, even if I'm in work at 8, and I'll use that 90 minutes for me, whether it's steps, whether it's journaling, reading, something for me. Work doesn't have to start immediately. I can do something for me first. And I'd keep that consistent wake time, regardless of whether or not I need to start my day at that time. Fitting it all in, though, I get that. And I say some of that will help you. For example, training will help you sleep, builds adenosine, helps you feel calm. Walking the dogs helps you feel calm, gets you steps, builds adenosine. So some of those things are helping you. But then the discipline of doing it will become easier once you've done it for a couple of weeks. And then that becomes the sacrifice not doing it. Does that help?
Yes, yeah. I think it's still early to test, I guess.
100%.
Because quite a few times we've had it in the past where we wanted to go to bed for, even when it's important, we need to go to bed because we're getting up early next day for flights or whatever.
Yeah.
And it gets that time when I'm meant to go to bed and I can't, my mind is going, no, you're going to have one more time on the video game because I haven't done what I wanted to do today.
That is, I get that. That's revenge bedtime procrastination. It's worth a Google if you've not seen it before. That is where you have got to force yourself. What matters more to you? Playing another round of your video game? Or, don't get me wrong, I do that because I'm a gamer. So I get it. You always got to have one more. Can't end on a loss. But what matters more? Do you want to feel great in the morning? Feel great every day? Or get another game? That is a difficult bit, and that's fully on you to do it. What I would say is try it for 2 weeks. If you make that change, that's not the rest of your life. That's not now how you have to live your life. If you do it for 2 weeks and don't feel better, stop doing it. If you do feel better, then it's on you about whether or not you make that decision to continue to do it or not. Try it for 7 days. Just this next 7 days, without fail, go to bed at the time you've said. Don't allow anything to stop it. Just 7 days. Do it 7 times in a row. And see how you feel. Decide whether or not you want to continue. Yeah? Yeah.
I sit there in bed, I'll be awake like 7,
Yeah.
and I'm like, on holiday, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and then I wake up, why? What are you doing? And I'm like, because I've been to sleep.
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah. I get that.
But you don't need to be up. Why are you awake? That's my time rather than feeling it in the evening.
Yeah.
I just get up and do whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
In the morning instead.
I think I find that if I wake up early, go to the gym, I say first 2 hours of my days for me, it's not work. Work feels less important, but it doesn't rule my life as much in the evening. Whereas when I wake up and the first thing I give attention to is work, it feels more important, and then it can take over my life more. Yeah. Mhm. 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 Sleep debt is the thing, definitely. If you need to catch that up, or so it'll keep getting you. So what if you're getting up for the 6 a.m. session? What time are you waking up?
Well, the alarm goes
Cool. Yeah, and then just fly. Yeah. Let's say 5. What time are you going to bed? So you're giving 7 hours in bed. So you're probably getting 4 cycles when you factor in efficiency.
I mean, they've just got my pain.
Okay.
Nerve pain.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting that. So I'm hoping that
Okay. What's your efficiency? Because you obviously use sleep cycle, don't you?
yeah. The last time was
So you're probably a cycle short Monday to Friday. Do you come 5 mornings? 4 mornings. You're 4 cycles short. So ideally, you want to catch up those cycles either on a weekend or napping. Can you nap?
oh god.
Logistically, can you? With work and stuff.
I do find that my eyes are going
Mhm.
absolutely going so tired. I did that yesterday. I actually did 90 minutes.
Good. That's full cycle, so you caught one up. So what I was going to say is that, yeah, so I would go, for the scenario you've described, I'd go 90 minutes in an afternoon, as often as you can, really, if you're short on sleep.
But that I can't do it in the afternoon. That's 6-ish.
Mhm.
Then I need dinner.
Yeah, so the research would tell you that 6 hours before is when so for you, after 3-4 p.m., you wouldn't want to nap because it'll impact the sleep time. But try it and see, because research isn't applicable to everyone. It's the sample size of whoever was in that research. Try it. You might find that you feel better. It doesn't affect sleep. Because the other thing is, even if you're getting it close to bed, if sleep pressure is that high and your circadian rhythm's that strong, you'll probably fall asleep anyway, even though you napped 4 hours before you went to bed. Try it and see. You definitely want to catch those up. Yeah. I would if you could. Yeah, I would. Yeah, you can get 90 minutes in an afternoon, 4 days, the days that you're up early. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it is 20 minutes or 90 minutes, not the in-between, because the in-between, you wake up in the middle of a phase. So you are right with that. I would preferentiate getting the 90 because you need to get them cycles back in. The other way is the weekend. Can you get an extra cycle on Saturday and Sunday? There's another one. So you'd need to catch up 180 minutes in the week and then get 2 full cycles, one on Saturday, one on either 7.5 hours of sleep or 9 hours. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Final one I didn't mention, which again, I'm sure there's some slides missing, alcohol. I'll just say it very quickly. Alcohol basically stops you getting to the deep phases of sleep. So you won't go past phase 2. So you won't get the really deep restorative slow wave sleep, regardless of how good all your rhythms are. Alcohol will just block it from happening. Even if you have 1 glass of wine before bed, the smallest amount, it'll impact it. There is a number, I don't know it off the top of my head.
One unit takes 1 hour.
Something like that. But even then, my understanding is even if you've given enough time, it'll still impact you in that evening. Again, so I think it's the same reasons that too much caffeine, even if you cut it off early enough, will impact you. That it affects sleep pressure and it affects your circadian rhythm and so on. Again, I'm happy to say if people want, I can put this on next week. Fibre. Do you want to do it next week? Yeah, been a long one, that, isn't it? It's fine. We'll do Fibre next week. Been a long one, this. What time is it? Yes, I can fucking waffle. Oh, good. So I've not just been waffling then.
No.
I told a couple of people.
It was good.
I did tell a couple of people it'd be short, this one. So, yeah. Good. Hopefully useful. Yeah. That's part again why it's 4 weeks long. You're learning layers. So once you've picked up that last week, you can build on it. Yeah. Cool. We'll go through fibre next week. Cool.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Yeah, sad lamps are a game changer. You really are. Can't live without it now. All right. Oh, decent.